Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I wanted to take a second to talk about something that I noticed in the press that I think is worth talking about. Um, Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is an interesting guy. He has had a lot to say about race in America, and a lot of his remarks have been a little bit questionable, a little bit problematic. And you know, it's interesting. When I think about Barkley, I think back to 2006 when I went on Stephen A. Smith's show. He had this great show called Quite Frankly with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, and every time I was on that show, Stephen A. always treated me with respect. Which so any critique I have of him or anybody else is really nothing personal. It's really just me just giving my honest opinion. That's just what I do. I lose friends because of it, but I think I keep friends because they know that I'm trying my best to be as honest as I can be. I'm not perfect, but I try my best to do my best. And anyway, one of the things that Stephen A. brought up was Barkley way back then, and I said, one of the things I like about Barkley is that he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. However, the problem is that there's usually nothing in his brain to begin with. And I was on that show. I was on there with Method Man and a couple some other guy, and and everybody thought that was funny, and I guess maybe I kind of meant it to be a joke, but it was meant to make the point that Barkley, to me, uh, what bothers me about Charles Barkley is that he is an ugly combination between ignorance and arrogance. It's one thing to be ignorant. It's one thing to not understand something. People can't blame you for being ignorant. A lot of ignorant people don't know they're ignorant. I'm ignorant about a lot of things, and that's fine. But when you're ignorant and arrogant, that means not only do you not know shit, but you don't even know shit about the shit that you know nothing about. But you're confident about that shit, right? And I use the word shit 5 times. I didn't mean to cuss, but I do it anyway. I might as well get the cat out the bag. The point is that you don't know anything, but you're overly confident about what you don't even know. It's one thing if I come to you and I say, "Look, I don't understand this. Explain this to me." But it's another thing if I come in and I say, "Let me tell you how to do this." I'm going to talk to you as if I'm an expert, even though I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, and I'm going to shut you down. And I'm going to tell you that you're wrong, and I'm going to tell you that you're stupid. That's just that makes you into a cocky jerk, really. And Barkley and I are in different professions, but I respect his achievements in the NBA. I mean, the man was a beast at basketball. God bless him for that. He's also courageous. I give him credit for being bold enough to withstand controversy. I respect that. But what I excuse me, what I do not like about Barkley is that he doesn't understand the value of humility, the ability to try to understand perspectives that are not the same as your own. He kind of has that, some you see it sometimes. Well, you see it everywhere, but I think about people I know in the South. Some of whom, not all, but some of whom have maybe superstitions that they hold on to, and they know that these things are true no matter what. That if you scratch your leg 3 times, it'll make sure the police don't come to your house, or whatever. And it translates into the way people become very rigid in their religious beliefs, and things like that. Where even if there's absolutely no evidence to support their point of view, they're gonna stand by it no matter what. They're gonna shut you down if you disagree with them. They're going to fight you if you disagree. And so when I look at Charles Barkley, I just see this guy who just has no humility. I mean, I have a PhD. If I wanted to run around and wave my academic degrees and brag about how many gazillion classes I've taken and how much I've learned, I could easily do that. But one of the things I learned is that the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. And the best way to be a good teacher is to commit yourself to being a good student. That way, you can not only teach the things you already know, but you'll be able to teach new things because you'll refresh your knowledge base over time by learning from the people that you interact with. Barkley doesn't understand that. Barkley just looks at his worldview and then comes and says these very bold things, very audacious things. And again, you can applaud him for being bold and all that stuff, but at the same time, uh, there are tragic consequences when you let a big asshole get on TV and just say whatever the hell he wants. And then there are even more tragic consequences when you have these networks. Many of them are owned by people who are not black, picking specific African Americans to speak on behalf of millions of people and to say things that are just stupid. And what's interesting to me is that you have really this class of black men who are kind of what you might call propped up Negroes, and they're not bad people. They're all successful in their own right. And I'm talking about mainly Stephen A. Smith, Steve Harvey, Charles Barkley. On one hand, these guys are extraordinarily accomplished, intelligent in their own way, extremely capable. But on the other hand, if you've notice this. All three of them at some point in the past 2 months have used a phrase basically equivalent to "I don't give a damn" when they've said something that was offensive to the African American community. Now let's think about that for a second. What does that mean? That means that I'm telling black people, look, even though I'm saying this thing on national TV and the majority of y'all don't like it, the majority of you all are disappointed and hurt and upset that I'm saying this, I don't give a damn what you think. And you know why they're saying that? It's because they've been propped up by a white man. There's a white corporation standing behind them as a bouncer, a financial bouncer, basically saying, this is our Negro. We boosted him up. Understand this, and this is true for most of the successful black people you see on TV. Most of them are successful and wealthy because a white person decided to fund their platform. If you take away ESPN, there is no Stephen A. Smith. If you take away TNT, there is no Charles Barkley. If you take away the money being funneled by, these networks, I don't know what channel Family Feud is on and all that, but if you take that money away, there is no Steve Harvey. And so what effectively happens, and this happens in a lot of third world countries, the United States government does this with their money and with their power and with their weapons. What they'll do is they will find a rebel group. Let's say they have a country where they want to conquer their country. What they'll do is they'll identify some rebel group that identifies with their views or is willing to sell out, and they will give that rebel group all the money and weapons they need to overthrow the government. And then that new government takes control because they got all the money and all the weapons, and they implement American policy with, say, an Iranian face or whatever. That's why you had a revolution in Iran in the 1970s, because for 25 years, in order to get the oil and to control Iran, the United States government had been propping up a leader for a very long time, and it led to a huge backlash from the people, because this leader did not represent the people. He represented his benefactor. I think the same thing is true when you talk about black American commentary, particularly a lot of stuff you see on television. That's why I say that it's a huge danger when you have your oppressor either educating your children or your oppressor controlling the media that you absorb. Because if CNN or NBC or whatever, Fox News or ABC, all these networks, if they all decide, okay, we want this person to be the new black leader, then guess what? That person will become a new black leader. This happens in the music industry too. A lot of black people I know, they really don't want their kids listening to Young Thug and 2 Chainz and Rich Homie Quan and Lil Wayne and some of these ignorant rappers calling themselves niggers, glorifying the death of black men, calling themselves thugs, so that when young black men run into the police are saying, oh, there's a thug. He's dressed like the thug I saw on TV. They like to be called thugs. That's what they do. Well, guess what? That money that support those platforms are coming from these big corporations. So with Charles Barkley, he's not going to listen to anything I say, and I'm not even going to try to give him advice. And I think he has a right to have an opinion, but I think that opinion needs to come with a little more humility, a little more compassion. If you look at his background, I mean, if you see that arrest that took place in 1997, where he threw that man through the glass window, and the police were about to arrest him, and Charles Barkley said, "I'll kick a cop's ass too." How many regular black men who are not millionaire athletes could get away with that kind of behavior and walk away from that shit without getting their ass beat or going to jail or ending up dead? How many black men do you know can go through that and come out of that situation alive? Barkley was able to do it because he was a millionaire basketball player for the Houston Rockets at the time, and he was in the state of Texas. So he had that protection from his benefactor. His massa had basically arranged for him to be protected and insulated from the experiences of regular black men in America. And that's why Barkley thinks the cops are always great and other black men are afraid of the cops. But what's ironic is that both Barkley and Eric Garner, and also Michael Brown. All of these men were big black men, and the only difference between Barkley and Eric Garner and Michael Brown is, number one, Barkley was more violent toward the police than either of these men were, based on what we know. It's certainly more violent than Eric Garner. I think the Michael Brown thing, nobody really knows exactly what happened there. That's why that case is so muddy for some people. But but Barkley was more violent toward the cops, and Barkley was a big guy just like they were. And I think that if Barkley had not been a millionaire, his story could have ended a whole lot differently. So, in my opinion, I think that it's unfortunate that we have to listen to these propped up Negroes who say these ridiculous things and then say I don't give a damn because some white guy's paying the bills. I mean, it's that's what structural racism looks like. Structural racism has many forms, but one of its manifestations are situations where the message that's being communicated amongst your people is being controlled by somebody else. Don't ever think the media is not one of the most important, one of the most powerful entities in the country. That's how Adolf Hitler controlled Germany. Hitler has a lot of quotes where he talks about if you control the media, you can control people's minds, you can control the future, you can control their youth, you can decide what their children are going to be when they grow up. And that's what happens to black people because every day black kids are being educated on the radio. They're being educated in these public schools that indoctrinate them into a certain way of thinking. They're being educated by propped up Negroes who are put on television to communicate certain messages in a black face. That's why whenever you see a protest, for example, or like the verdict with the case in Ferguson with Michael Brown. What did they have? They had somebody, a Negro, they put on TV to say, no matter what the verdict is, I just want to ask for calm. I just want to ask for peace. I want to ask for calm. And that's pretty much something that didn't really come from the black community. That really came from some benefactor who owned the platform, who put the person on the platform in order to share a specific message. And in fact, if you really want to understand how oppression kind of works in America, either go read or go watch the Hunger Games. The Hunger Games is a brilliant display of exactly how oppressed people are controlled through various symbols and certain strategies to control their minds. So don't let anybody control your mind. Come to your own conclusions. Fight the power. Stand strong. Don't be afraid, and find out who you are. And don't let anybody take that away from you. And as far as Charles Barkley goes, he'll probably still be on TV. God bless him, but he needs to kill all that craziness. Well, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.